Hey, it's Vas here from Metro Hobbies, and welcome to what I guess is our first double unboxing. We have two chassis that are exactly the same, but with two different bodies. We've got the 1969 Camaro over here. We've got a 1972 C10. They look absolutely fantastic, and they come with some pretty cool features, so let's take a closer look at them. Alright, so once you get everything out of the box, this is what you're going to be greeted with. Now, you're going to get the cars, of course, fully assembled and ready to go. There are no batteries or chargers included with these vehicles, so you will need to get those separately. But you will get a radio and you will get a bag with some goodies in here. Now, first thing in my hand here are actually the AAA batteries that are for the radio itself, which is kind of cool that they've actually included those. You get a little cross wrench just there, and there's some other little bits and pieces, some additional spares, and then some Allen keys as well to help you work on the vehicle. So really nice that they've included those. And then as we keep digging in a little bit deeper, we'll flip this over. There's actually some other information here. There's a Horizon card, free cool brand swag. So, and then we've got some spare leftover stickers from the decal sheet that they use to do the decals on the cars. And then of course the all-important manual that I know everyone loves to read these. This is for the Camaro, so I've got this one here, and it's actually pretty good because you've got some exploded views with part numbers and so forth, as you would expect from a comprehensive manual. So it's really nice that they've included that. And then at the beginning of the manual, there will be information how to install the batteries, both on the radio and in the car, how to turn it on, how to operate it, all that type of basic stuff. And then of course there's also parts listings and so forth. So the usual information. It does come in a couple of different languages that I can see here. So it is multilingual, and yeah, lots of useful information in that one. Now for the radio itself, it's this tiny little guy here, and the way that you put your batteries in, there's a little button that you push just there, and you slide this guy across just like so, and then you open up the little flipper door that's just there that pops in, and then your AA's, or rather AAA's, go in there, and then you slide that back on, and you just pop it back into place. If I can line it up. Bear with me. Here we go. Boom, just like that. And you're ready to go. Now, as far as features go, this is actually not too bad. First of all, it is a small radio, but even with my big mitts, it still fits in there, no problem at all. It does have a fairly weighted trigger, which is quite nice. So you're going to feel some nice resistance on the trigger there. The wheel is a good size and has some pretty good feedback on there as well, so not too bad. And then you've got some buttons on here that we'll go through very quickly. Now, you've got a reverse button, you've got a channel 3 button, which I don't believe is active unless it's for the LED lights. You have your steering trim on this side here, you have your throttle trim on this side, which you don't usually touch anyway, and you've got your on and off switch just there. There are no other dials or anything like that that I can see on the radio. It only has a tiny little sort of nippy antenna on the top here, which is kind of cool. And that pretty much wraps up the features of the radio. Okay, so now for the main event, the cars themselves. Now, of course, we do have the Camaro, which is just basically a different body to what you're going to see here. And then we've got the C10. Now, these are available in different colors. The C10 is here in the orange, but it is also available in the black. The Camaro is, as you saw, was in the black with the white stripes, but is also available in the red, which actually looks really good too. And let's face it, red goes faster, so I'm pretty sure everyone's going to pick the red. Now, the body just comes off with the 4 body pins, which is pretty standard. I'll just pop these off really quickly here for you. We'll pop them aside, and you'll see the body comes off. Now, normally this would be tethered with the LED light plug that you see here. There's actually a little spare plug where this plugs into, and then it hooks up to the LEDs, which are already pre-mounted on the front of the car. So the grille and everything is actually a separate part, so it's actually not a nice plastic grille. Same thing goes for the Camaro as well. And then of course you've got your LEDs already pre-mounted on here. So there's some LEDs on the bottom of the bumper bar, and then of course you've got your headlights on there as well. Really nicely finished off. As for the body itself, the rest of it is pretty standard. It's just a Lexan body. You've got some window trimmings and so forth. You've got some handles, stickers, and all that type of thing. So there are no mirrors or wipers or anything like that on this one. And of course, there are no rear LEDs. So putting that aside, we're going to get onto the main chassis here that you see. Underneath is just very nice and clean, as you can see there. It's got some reinforcements going through the middle, and then on top you will see a brace that runs all the way through. This brace is actually removable. It's got a couple of screws here that you can actually remove, and then you've got a plastic drive shaft running right through the middle of the car itself. The electronics are all on one side here. We've got the brushed motor, which is housed in this little kind of cooling type of fitting that they've got here. It's got some vents and things like that to really capture the air and get it to flow through the motor to keep it nice and cool. Your ESC is actually in the center there, and then you've got your EC3 plug just there. Of course, you can change that out to whatever you like. Servo is mounted right up the front here with the on and off switch just there, and of course the little antenna for the receiver on there as well. Keeping in mind, from what I can see, that the ESC is a 2-in-1, so it's both the ESC and a receiver. So if you want to use a different radio with this car, because you may not like the small one, you are going to need to swap out the speed controller. Just keep that in mind. Servo saver is mounted up here on the servo, and then you've got your steering rack and everything else going through the front of the car just there. Actually, not a lot of slop in these wheels, which is really hard to find on something of this price point, because normally with something like this you get a little bit of play, a little bit of slop, and there's hardly anything on these cars. They've been very nicely built. There are no adjustments as far as camber links and toe links or anything like that. Everything's pretty much prefixed, which is really aimed for the beginner driver. But everything just seems to fit really, really well. On the opposite side of this, of course, you've got your battery tray just there, which is held together with just a little body pin there. Once you take that body pin off, this strap kind of lifts up and you can mount your battery in there. Now, this can run on a nickel metal battery as well as a 2S LiPo. It is not 3S compatible. You will need to obviously upgrade the power system and everything to be able to run 3S through these cars. And to be fair, given that this has a plastic drive shaft, going 3S and putting more power through is probably going to be putting more stress on the drive line. It's probably not ideal without some upgrades. So a lot of bracing and so forth going through the front and rear of the diff cases. You can see there's a lot of triangular shapes and so forth, which really makes this quite a very strong car if you're going to have so many sort of head-on impacts. You've got a nice foam bumper on the front here with adjustable body posts front and rear. What that means as well is that you can swap out the body for something else later on. If you really like the Camaro body, but you've got maybe a basher body that you just want to throw on here, you can do that and adjust the body posts accordingly so that the bodies actually fit really nice. The wheels and tires, believe it or not, these tires are actually really grippy. Now the front tires are actually slightly narrower than the rear, so it has that kind of like muscle car type of feel. You have a little bit more of an offset on the rear tires as well. So something that you might notice is that you've got a really nice dish on the front, but then it gets increased on the back. So there's a bigger offset, obviously, to accommodate the wider tire. Suspension-wise, you do have oiled field shocks. They are plastic body shocks. I believe you can adjust these with perhaps some preload spaces and so forth, but these are actually feeling really, really good. I think this is actually going to handle very, very nicely. So in a nutshell, that is pretty much the C10 and Camaro chassis. These are actually really nicely finished, and as I said, not a lot of slop on all of these joints, which is pretty rare to see these days, especially at this price point. And the suspension seems to be really well tuned, which you kind of expect from Losi. I mean, Losi are known for really knowing their stuff when it comes to suspension setups, and they definitely haven't missed a beat here. All right, so that wraps up this double unboxing here at Metro Hobbies. Thank you all very much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please be sure to hit that thumbs up button before you go. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you're new. And as always, check out the video description. We'll have links in there to both of these cars, as well as battery and charger, so that you can have a complete ready-to-run package when you get one of these. Thank you again, and I'll be speaking to you all next time.